dude.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Can you say
Hi,
yes?
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For JD Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new signature wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat basement, average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And good evening, and welcome to the Red Wine. It's a kind of different sort of evening. Normally, there's a lot of girls sitting here to complain about everything that's going on in the world. But this evening, we have our first Cabana Boy. Yeah, that's a name we're given. We're going to try to rotate some of these guys in and out when some of our girls are having a schedule conflict. So, welcome to the show, Brad.
We're gonna say this is a tentative title. I think it's pending until I see what the uniform is.
Oh, you didn't get the uniform?
I did not.
You did all of your pre-show work very well. My glass is full, and I have a sandwich.
There you go. And I do have the towel draped over my forearm as I serve. But,
good.
I haven't received the sketches yet on what I'm supposed to be wearing, so. Pending that approval, then we'll see if we accept the title.
A kilt.
All right, I think I could rock a kilt. I think I can pull that off.
Oh, it's better than some of the suggestions we're getting in chat. So, anyway.
I won't even delve into that pool. So
yeah, no, don't dive in there because I think Orty might have made one, maybe. Anyway, so we also have with us this evening, of course, Lou.
Of course. You couldn't get rid of me if you tried.
We wouldn't try.
Aww.
Anyway, so I guess we have a lot to speak about tonight. Of course, there was a Democratic debate last night. It's the first one I've elected not to watch. However, I did watch some of the more amazing clips, and what I found most interesting about the coverage that I saw and the clips that I did watch was everybody's after Elizabeth Warren.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was one of the fools that actually watched at least the first hour last night, and
y'all know why.
Yes, because I'm very deeply interested in what our country is going to be formed.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it was Moana.
Moana 2020. She was there last night.
2020.
Can somebody explain to me why we call her Moana?
She's from Hawaii.
Okay, so that means something. All right, moving on.
It was a Hawaiian Disney character.
You haven't seen the movie Moana?
Nah, I gave up Disney movies quite a while ago.
Okay, well, me being plugged into the entertainment realm like I am, and also with plenty of youngins circulating in the family here, I've been exposed to it, let's say. So, yeah, Moana's a Disney princess who hails from Hawaii. It's all set kind of back in the days when Polynesia was forming, and so therefore Tulsi being a representative of the 50th state, she's dubbed Moana.
Wow, I learned something. Okay.
See there? Look at that. We're actually bringing the truth and the facts about cartoons.
We always bring it.
Try
There's
to.
a backstory to everything. Sometimes we won't tell it on the radio, but...
Precisely.
Precise.
But yeah, the Elizabeth Warren show last night was rather evident. I was amazed, at least in the first hour. It seemed like every single question they just turned right to her, and it was like there are 11 other people on stage.
Well, of course, but they had to go ahead and see what was going on as far as well, I mean, they did the same thing to Biden though.
Well, did you? I mean,
he was the ostensible front runner. How did he look for the first hour?
He kind of was like in that position where he, was trying to get noticed, and then once they started really getting into economic policy and stuff, he felt the need to jump in there with the rest of their screwed up policies, which we're definitely going to be getting into here. But I found it wasn't just perception. CNN actually put it out today, the amount of time all of the people had to speak, and Elizabeth Warren was like 6 to 7 minutes greater than everybody, including Biden.
Well, she had to answer one question 3 times, and then she never answered it.
There's true, but I mean, it was times when I was watching, they turned to her at the opening for the questions, and then they would go down the line a little bit. But every time they came up with new questions, it was always right to her. And they didn't spread it out among the crowd outside of, her and Biden usually getting their time in. Bernie got a significant amount. But the funny thing to me was that CNN put out a tweet today where they said, here's a look at the speaking times throughout the debate. And these are the candidates who talk the most. And they say this as if they didn't have a control over the debate. Like it just happened this way.
Well, but I mean, I think, we'll talk about this in a little bit as well, but I think when, what's his name? Oh, dear. Project Veritas. Just James.
Oh, right, we're talking about the CNN video that came out.
Yes, the video that came out. I think his second video, they were actually talking about the debate, and it was pretty clear from the conversation that Warren was their favorite. So I guess it's not terribly shocking that she got to talk a lot.
No, it was definitely funny to see that, because framed against the O'Keefe video that did come out, he's in the practice now. Whenever he has these expose videos, he leaks them out in stages instead of all at once.
Well,
so
he said on an interview today he has over 100 hours worth of tape.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe they let that guy come back to work the next day, and he recorded the call that morning. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, whoa. But anyway, I did see another, of course, Elizabeth Warren, and the question she had to be asked 3 times was, will your Medicare for All plan raise middle-class taxes? She refused to answer it. She danced around it. She did a little powwow. She did a little rain dance, kind of entertained people in the non-answer answer. So this is where I have to give Bernie Sanders credit. At least he's honest about it. It's his plan. So I guess we can deduce if Bernie's saying, yes, all of your taxes are going to go up, that everybody's tax is going to go up.
Well, yeah, but also, too, the thing with Bernie is he never shies away from raising taxes. I mean, that's his...
No. It's part of his shtick.
That's his entire meaning of life. Outside of the only change in things happened sometime last year. You know, he used to be demonizing millionaires and billionaires all the time.
Yeah,
he had to drop the preamble now because he himself is a millionaire. And it was Sanders himself that kind of got the first laugh line out of me when he was talking about impeachment, and he brings up the emollients clause and says that Trump should be impeached because he's getting rich while working in Washington.
They all know he donates his salary back, right?
Well, this is also the accusation coming from a millionaire with 3 homes who has never worked in the private sector. He's amassed this wealth while working in Washington.
But I still fail to understand how Trump is getting rich off the presidency. His sons do no international deals. They're managing the business. They pay his salary back. I've found articles that they pay back the proceeds they get from diplomatic or government-related stays, so the actual profit they make from the Trump Hotel there in Washington. And the value of his business has gone down since he came into the White House because there's so much bad press and people are boycotting him.
Well,
so I'm just not understanding how he's profiting from the presidency.
They're also not focused on the same level of maintenance that they were able to focus on before they all went to Washington to work to help their dad, right? So the 4 people at the top of that company are not really there. So I think, yes, you're right. It's about the bad press, but it's not all about the bad press, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and international deals that they're not doing that they would have been doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that play into why the business isn't making as much money. So, and you know that they knew this going in because they knew what deals that they were going to be making before they decided that they weren't going to be making them. They knew what they were giving up.
Yep. And Trump writes his check equal to his salary back to the Treasury every time he gets one.
When was the last time you think we had a president that put money into the Treasury?
Never.
Yeah, I mean, in-kind donations may have been made by some of the founding fathers. Certainly they were. I think, Sam Adams clearly probably gave some alcohol. Yeah.
Well, I did do a poll on Twitter this morning since I didn't watch it before I went out and watched the clips, and I asked how many unconstitutional propositions they actually made, and I thought for sure Kamala Harris would have been the winner, but it turns out it looks like it was actually Beto O'Rourke.
No surprise.
Well, I mean, he's going to tax churches and universities and private schools and historically black colleges and universities, and actually manned up and said he was going to do it to mosques too, which is a first for a Democrat.
Wow.
Okay, the man up.
Because if you don't kneel to the leftist ideology when it comes to transgender and gay marriage and everything else, you deserve no break, no tax break in particular. So they're going to turn them all into LLCs and then sue them under discrimination laws. But they were always going to do that, or at least try.
Yeah.
But then I heard last night he suggested going door to door to take my guns.
Of course he did.
Well, yeah,
and then he doubled down on MSNBC this morning.
Well, of course he did.
I think that's where the DNC is going to start really clamping down on him, because that's always been their escape clause whenever it comes to gun control. It's like, oh, we don't want to take all your guns. It's only these select models. It's the AR-15. We're not going to confiscate. Nobody says confiscate. And then there's Beto in the background going, I'm going to suck them all up. I'm going to take them all.
Going to send the cops to your house. Yep, I am. Well, did you see Pete Buttigieg? I never say his name right. Mayor Pete, did you see Mayor Pete go, like, no, dude, you can't say that, like, basically right on the stage?
Oh, yeah, he cut Beto down for sure, and it was basically the Tulsi version of knocking down Kamala a couple debates ago, so I think
really?
Beto is
it went that far?
Well, it's awesome. It wasn't a big surprise like Tulsi's was. This was more of somebody finally stepping up and looking them in the eye and saying, dude, forget it. This is never going to happen. It just, he pretty much said, you're excused now.
Dana Perino calls it the zombie candidacy. It's dead, and Beto just doesn't know it yet.
He's the only one that doesn't know it.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Oh, dear Lord. So did Kamala get anything in last night? I heard she was still talking about taking away Trump's Twitter account, which apparently Twitter tweeted something saying they would be suppressing the accounts of certain world leaders that don't, like...
Well, that was kind of her... It seemed like that was her driving platform item of the night. It's like, really, this is a debate for the presidency of the United States. You're worried about Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is her candidacy dead too? Are we ready to say she's kind of off the table?
Are we talking about Kamala? Because I sure hope so.
Yeah, no, so. She's the most terrifying one.
The last couple of debates, she's actually lost ground in the polls.
Yeah.
So she's not really helping her cause.
Well, I mean, the last one where she cackled, "Oh, Joe." You sound like an overaged hooker that's trying to pick up a mark. I mean, it was just awful.
Yeah, she definitely has those practiced moments, where it's supposed to come off as glib and off the cuff with her, and you can just see how practiced it is. None of it seems genuine. It's kind of like, when the rich woman in the country club wants to talk to the kids about, who's that Korean boy band again? That kind of thing. You can tell it's not a natural.
I just want to understand why, she and Elizabeth Warren just can't be honest about their own biography. You know what I mean? She's on air. Oh yeah, I smoked pot, listened to Tupac 12 years before Tupac ever put out an album. Now we got Elizabeth Warren, who lied for years about being a Native American. Now we've got the documentation. She lied about her parents' elopement. Who does that to their parents? Ruin their wedding story?
That whole story.
We have documentation that she didn't get fired for being pregnant. In fact, she didn't like being a special ed teacher, according to one interview, so she decided to go be a lawyer, and her husband was relocated.
Right.
Why can't they just tell the truth?
Well, I actually covered this over the weekend, and you see the way the press reacts to this stuff. When she gets busted on it, the press steps in to do her PR for her. And I think it was USA Today, I think, had the most emblematic example of this when this whole pregnancy came up. Now, just to reiterate, this was a job she had in 1971 and is claiming she got fired for being pregnant. Well, there is documentation that says, no, she resigned from the position.
Right. And the school district was actually sorry to see her go after they had offered her a contract.
Right. And then she had a subsequent television interview she gave where she talked about this and how she left. And that was in 2007, I want to say. So 30 years or so after the fact, she's still asserting that she left the position, not fired. Right. But now that she's a presidential candidate and it's convenient to get sympathy for female issues that she's promoting, suddenly she's been fired. And USA Today framed the story. First off, they can't even say she lied. They're coming up with some new euphemism like alterations to her story or something like this.
Like alternative facts?
Yeah, something of that nature. And then when they talk about, of course they spun it, they came up with a new phrase too. It's not Republicans pounced, but it was conservatives latched on to details in her past.
She's pathological.
Well, like over here on the right, we like to call it the truth.
Well, here's the thing is they said, yeah, and then some conservative outlets dug into her past and found some documents that asserted something different. So basically they were framing it like those dastardly conservatives went out and practiced journalism. Nobody does that anymore.
Well,
so like they were actually mad
that
research came up with these facts.
Did you see Jay Rosen's tweet?
I don't know if I did or not.
Oh my God, Jay Rosen, guys, New York University professor of journalism, basically put out a tweet today that said, continuing to ask Elizabeth Warren whether middle-class taxes will be raised for Medicare for all should reduce the credibility of any journalist asking the question. And then somebody, I forget the other journalist's name, it was a woman, she wrote a whole article about, like, well, yeah, we can understand why, and it's important to give the details of the policy, but all you're doing by continuing to ask her is giving the GOP a commercial. So voters shouldn't be told what the actual implications of your policies are, because then Donald Trump could use it in a campaign commercial.
Well, wasn't it Rosen a few weeks ago when the New York Times had their fiasco with the supposedly new information on Kavanaugh accusers and all that nonsense? I think he came out and said, well, at least they corrected the record, and that's something the other outlets never do. It's like, no, dumbass, they lied.
They lied some more, and then they lied again, and other outlets don't have to, like conservative outlets don't generally have to correct the record because they don't run with stuff that's not true.
I mean, this was the New York Times with their expose from their upcoming book. And then a day or two later came up with the disqualifying notion that she did not even know about this episode and the victim never claimed this happened. Oh, by the way, we found this information in the very same book that we were alluding to yesterday. So, I mean, and Rosen's like, thank God they corrected. Well done, pat on the back.
Only because Molly Hemingway made them. Thank God for Molly Hemingway. Seriously.
Yeah, she's definitely on it.
But if you look at the contents of their book, they actually had new news in there. The new news was that Leland Kaiser was threatened. Like, they were going to ruin her if she didn't back up Blasey Ford.
And there's the surprise.
Significant.
Yeah, and there's the surprise in the whole thing that they actually included that in the book.
I know, but like, if you want to break news, that's news.
Yeah, it was news, but no, they did. That's the thing, Stacey. They didn't want to break that news.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
But so what do y'all think of the squad endorsing Bernie?
I could not be any less shocked about anything. I mean,
I thought they were going to end up going for Warren.
Well, no, I think AOC has been in Bernie's camp from day one. I mean, they've been
but she kind of went back and forth a little bit. The problem with that being that the workers' okay, so Elizabeth Warren, right? She goes out and she totally breaks rank. And she endorses two of the primary challengers that are challenging sitting Democrats from the Justice Democrats. So two little AOCs, right? One is primarying Henry Cuellar down in Texas, and the other one is primarying Dan Lipinski up in Illinois. Elizabeth Warren came out before the last debate and endorsed both of those candidates, which is like completely going against the grain in the Democratic Party because the House Democrats tried every trick in the book to impair those primary campaigns from day one, right? Then her daughter runs a not-for-profit who gave the Working Party's family $45,000. So you have her endorsing Justice Democrats, right? Which is the party that AOC and Ilhan Omar actually come from. Right? And then the Workers' Family Party, after being bought off by her daughter, basically endorsed Elizabeth Warren as well. So all the far left parties or factions, if you will, kind of seem to be sitting with Warren. So I was actually surprised that the Justice Democrats didn't pull the squad to endorse her.
Well, I think we're still very early in this process anyway. I don't know that the DNC has actually gotten into the stage of dictating yet who to back. We're more than a year out. So I think
I'm not talking about the DNC. I'm talking about the Justice Democrats.
Right. But the thing is, there's going to be at some point in time, party leadership is going to start saying, get in line, back this one, back that one. I don't think they've gotten to that stage yet, so they're going to let things shake out probably until after New Year's before they really start clamping down on who the approved names are going to be.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you what I think about AOC, though. I think AOC was probably, the squad in general, I think AOC's probably been a Bernie kid for like his last 2 or 3 elections that he ran. Yeah. So, because this is like his 4th, right? And that's
he was back in her campaign as well when she was first running.
Right. Well, that was a joke, but I guess nobody got it.
Oh,
boo-hoo. This is Bernie's 4th election.
Well, I don't get these jokes. These jokes are going over my head.
That was great.
You actually do a really good Bernie.
He does a great Bernie.
Oh my goodness. Like talents we didn't even know about.
No, you did somebody else. You do Obama too, right? Is it Obama that you do?
No, Obama's a little beyond my reach.
Oh, okay.
I need to have like a really cartoonish character.
Well, you did one other night when I was on the air with you, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
yeah, they just roll out of me at times. It all depends on what bourbon I'm on that night.
Well, I just got to say that as far as Bernie Sanders goes and having Linda Sauersor as a surrogate, and now the anti-Semitic squad behind him, I think he should have all the appeal of Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, it's I'm just shaking my head.
PSA into the Labor Party.
Well, I think it's finally gotten to the point where the squad is really starting to lose their influence, whatever they used to have. I think the Democrats really went overboard in pushing them to the forefront right after the election. And it used to be, whatever they say goes, you can't assail them. I mean, they tried impeaching Trump because he said mean things to them. That's how much.
But I think what pushed them down, we can talk about this when we come back from the break because it might be a little extended, is actually this entire faux impeachment process, because I firmly believe, and tell me I'm wrong, that the only reason we're going through this right now is, number one, because Adam Schiff is a pencil neck douche, and number two, because right before Nancy started to come over to the impeachment camp, it was announced that there are 111 AOCs out there primarying incumbent Democrats, and they're terrified of people coming at them from the left.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, they got to have internal memos. They got to have internal polls, because the public does not care about impeachment. They don't want it. And they look at Adam Schiff. How many times has he changed his story just on the Ukraine phone call alone? It used to be he made 8 threats to him. Ooh, that disappeared when the facts came out. Okay, well, there was a quid pro quo. And then Schiff came out a week later and said, we don't even need a quid pro quo to go forward. And, I mean, every step of the way.
Now we don't even need a whistleblower.
Or a vote.
Well, they were also, remember, we need complete transparency.
But that's all they need.
The whistleblower is going to be testifying in private, locked doors, nobody can hear, nobody can cross-examine.
Right, exactly.
No, now it was going to be in writing, and then he came out on the Sunday shows this week and said, he may not have to testify at all, because we have the transcript. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The point being, it's a constantly changing story. So, yeah.
And I think we're rolling up right on a break.
We are rolling up.
And we get back a little bit more about CNN and how actually ridiculous they are, along with some other fun making fun of the left.
Yep, we'll be right back.
Get up, get your man about the red wine. Get up, get your man about the red wine. Oh, I can't get up out of bed with this crazy feeling in my head. I said, get up, get your man about the red wine. No, get up. Get your man about red wine.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Get up, get your man about the red wine. Get up, get your man about the red wine. Oh, I can't get up out of bed with this crazy feeling in my head. I said, get up, get your man about the red wine. No, get up, get your man about the red wine. Oh, get up, get your man about the red wine.
All right, we are back, and Brad has left the room, and Bernie is back. Bernie's here. Say hello, Bernie.
I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't get this in writing. Nobody sent me a script.
Yo, you know,
my elbows in my Vermont ice cream here.
I'm a professional, so I gave you like lots of warning that I was going to do that. Because I thought about it.
I still got the brain freeze going on.
Because I actually thought about it before I unmuted the mics, right?
Yeah,
so, Right, yeah. So, I don't know. Stacey, you want to go ahead and listen to that clip and talk about that?
Yeah, I find it hysterical. So just to put this in context, and, sometimes CNN is its own worst enemy. So go ahead and play the clip. And, of course, we're crediting this to Project Veritas.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to credit it to those guys. So here we go. It's a quick one, so listen.
I don't care about the other stuff in the event. Okay, I don't care about them. Let's just stay very focused on impeachment.
My name is Kerry Porch. I'm a satellite uplink technician. I'm a contractor at the CNN Washington, D.C. Bureau.
But Jeff Zucker, basically president of CNN, has a personal vendetta against Trump. It's not going to be positive for Trump. He hates him. It's going to be negative.
Wow.
So basically, from what I understand, Jeff Zucker worked with President Trump for a long time at NBC, especially while President Trump kind of became a cultural icon during The Apprentice, which I never watched. So I can honestly say I never saw a single episode of it. But just to reinforce everything that had gone on in the videos and audio that James O'Keefe and Project Veritas put out with the whistleblower, CNN tweets today with a full video ad with graphics and everything, the impeachment inquiry. There's only one place for it all. It's like they just owned it.
Could you be more tone deaf?
Could you be more tone deaf? All Jeff Zucker wants to cover is impeachment. All he wants to cover is impeachment. And if you listen to the second video, it's even worse. It's like he's scripting Tapper and other people, right? Telling them what to say. Now, for all you may want to argue with Fox News, and I watch them occasionally, every single host on there tells you, we own our content. So Tucker Carlson's show is Tucker Carlson's show. Sean Hannity's show is Sean Hannity's show. Same for Dana Perino. They have a separate news division that actually does news. Recently done by Shep, who was obviously no Trump fan, right?
Right.
So when you look at the relative, range of opinions that you see on Fox, where you end up being exposed to people like Juan Williams and, what's her name, Donna Brazile, we actually have literal progressives and people who represent the Democratic Party as it is today on Fox, and all you have on CNN is Republicans who hate Trump.
Right. Yeah, and so this is what but I think there's actually an explanation for this, right? I mean, the tone deafness, obviously, or the lack of self-awareness with the commercial itself is the same. Maybe it's a lack, maybe it's it actually is self-awareness, but whatever. So, having done advertising for a while, I'm really curious as to how this commercial got out and where it was actually running, and here's why. Was it running on CNN, or did it get picked out of some other network? Because, CNN runs spots on a lot of networks. Those things go into the queue in advance. This broke on Monday. Guaranteed that was queued up. Pulling an ad out, because we used to have to have contingencies for this in pharma, because you never knew when the FDA was going to pull an ad. Pulling an advertisement out of rotation is what is actually difficult. So I'm just wondering.
It was a tweet, and they made it 9 hours ago.
Probably queued up in advance, right?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That intern.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Lou and I, we talked about this when I was on your show a couple weeks ago, where they had the New York Times wrote all their tweets out ahead of time and had them in the hopper, scheduled to go up. And stuff. CNN probably did the same thing, where this is all done ahead of time. And when something breaks, let's say the O'Keefe video comes out, they're probably not even fully aware of how much of their stuff connected to that very issue was ready to get broadcast or sent out or disseminated.
It's got a URL on it, CNN.com.
Right.
/ impeachment. I mean,
that
I'm
could
dying. I'm like, well, thank you for confirming everything I heard in that video.
Right, exactly. So there is somewhere that we can get, the truth, and you just confirmed it for us. Thank you, CNN. It's not you.
Thank you, CNN.
Yeah, because it's
probably
clearly
the only bit of truth we got from you today, but good job.
Right, exactly. Hey, look, there's truth on CNN. That might be the one tweet that didn't get caught, though, right? So somebody went through and cleaned them up. Ooh, but they missed one. They always miss one.
Well, they definitely missed that one, and they made no effort to delete it.
But this just shows how tone deaf the network is in general. I mean, they have been pumping and pimping the Russian collusion story for 2+ years.
But now, don't you have some sense that was probably at Zucker's direction?
Oh, sure. I mean,
they were they were Russian collusion 24 hours a day. At least on MSNBC, it was just Madhouse show.
Right.
Right.
And now they're convinced that that CNN thinks that they're still in a position where they can drive the narrative, and they cannot. They're just not that consequential anymore.
Brian Stelter.
Right. And believe me, I love beating the hell out of Tater.
Tater.
Oh, Tater.
He is just, he's got to be the most unself-aware.
You want to talk about tone deaf?
Yeah, this guy has no
that's
words.
Tone deaf. He just said, what?
I mean,
now I used to say, you should find someone who loves you as much as Tater loves Fox News. Like the way he watches them, the way he obsesses over them. I mean, that's either going to be someone who loves you or a freaking stalker.
Right,
now
exactly.
You understand why Tater's writing a book about Fox News and why he talks about Fox News all the time. Because the big boss says Fox News conspiracy theories.
Yeah, nobody should have that stalker. Nobody. Nobody. Yeah, that's not a good relationship.
The only ratings that Tater gets is people forced to watch him in gyms, dentist's offices, and airports across the country, I promise you. He doesn't even... So you know how they send out the Nielsen ratings?
Right.
Right.
And you'll see them once a week or whatever, and the Mad Owl will usually be in the mix with the Fox News, prime time or whatever. When you go to the daytime, Tater's show never shows up.
Oh, no.
It's never on there.
And he also never talks about ratings because on a regular basis, on weeknights, CNN loses to SpongeBob, to the Food Network. Literally. I mean, they always see
SpongeBob is good TV, though.
The cable news ratings, and it's got the 3 networks. But if you look at actual cable ratings, CNN is down in 23rd position sometimes.
Yeah.
And they never allude to that. Last night, he was...
isn't the dumbest man in the world on in the evenings?
You're going to have to narrow that one down.
Yeah, right.
Cuomo, Fredo.
Oh, yeah, Fredo.
I mean, Don Lemon is excruciating to listen to, but he's not as dumb as Chris Cuomo is. Chris Cuomo is just stupid.
Well, I think they're both equal. Just Cuomo has that attitude about him that supersedes his intellect. Don Lemon,
New York
thinks
Italian,
he's trying
my
to
daddy
sell
was
something.
governor attitude.
Yeah, he's got that condescension that always rises when his lack of knowledge descends. So it becomes more remarkable as a result.
Yeah, I don't think he's the oldest son either.
Yeah, no, he wasn't the smart son.
Right, he's not the oldest son. See, that's the Italian thing, right?
Think about this. In that family, the current governor of New York is the smarter one. Just think about that for a minute when you look at conditions of New York.
This is the governor that accuses Florida of stealing his citizens away.
But this is really important. This is really important. If we have any other Italians in the, and I hope I don't offend anyone because they're not the oldest son, but if we have any in the chat room, that it's really important. They tend to have a chip on their shoulder because they're not the oldest son, and it's not their fault because the oldest son gets treated unrealistically better than everybody else in the family.
Well, I could say, like, honestly, looking at both of them, neither one of them deserve to be treated that way. But, you know, I also look at it this way. If we were in, like, medieval times, they would have sent Chris off to the monastery to become a priest, and so he wouldn't have bred.
Right.
So that would have been good.
Yeah, but that is why Chris is Fredo, because he's not the favored son.
Well, he's also the dumber younger brother.
Yeah, exactly. It helps that he's dumber, but he is not the favored son. And but anyway, he is that. That's why he went flipping ape crap when they called him Fredo. Yeah, I mean he went. Well, I'll just put it this way: I recognized it. I've seen that flip out before. Yeah, I've seen that.
I've seen that.
Seen that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, anywho.
Well, did you actually see the ratings last night? What Brian Stelter does not want to talk about.
They were awful.
Were they?
It was down nearly 50% from the first debate on MSNBC, or I should say, I'm sorry, NBC in the Univision one. But CNN even last night fell behind CNN's own numbers in the previous debates.
Okay, were they worse than the LBGTQ town hall?
That I don't have a comparison of numbers with. So.
Okay, if you want to talk about cutting campaign commercials for Trump, the town halls that CNN insists on running on these fringe topics have got to be the best. Like, there is campaign commercial after campaign commercial in both the climate town hall and that LGBTQ town hall.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even know there was the alphabet soup town hall. I missed that one.
Well, I'll tell you what the highlight of the entire evening was, Brad.
Please.
And I'm hoping, Media Matters isn't listening to the show. The highlight of the entire evening was when a little girl who thinks she's a boy had the mic taken from her by a man who thinks he's a woman.
Oh, I think I did see that video at least. So.
Yeah, Blossom?
Okay, now I understand.
Did you see Don Lemon doing psychotherapy from the stage?
I did not. Yeah,
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the funniest thing
there would be nothing about that event that would even come close to attracting my attention ahead of time.
No. So this woman takes the mic, and I only saw this because somebody who had a YouTube podcast that played it, because I really didn't watch it either. I just saw the clips afterwards. But so this woman rips the microphone out of this child's hand, right? And she goes right up to the front. Security's nowhere to be seen. And Don Lemon finally coaxes the mic away from her, and then she keeps talking. He's like, "It's important we hear you." And of course, Beto's the candidate on the stage. And do you remember when Black Lives Matter took over Netroots Nation when Bernie was on the stage?
Right.
It was kind of a moment like that. And so he hands her back the mic. And then she talks, and he reaches and kind of takes it back from her again. She keeps on talking. He gives it back to her a second time. And Beto's just standing there with his hand in
Holy cow.
his waistband. And I'm just dying laughing.
But see, I mean, this is all part of
These people want to run the free world, and you can't handle a heckler.
No, and that's the whole thing, is because they've been so preconditioned with all of the hates and phobias and everything else that gets wrapped into politics, that, when you see somebody from one of those cherished groups speaking out and doing what is correct and proper in society is going to get you in trouble, so they hold back. They just freeze in those moments instead of doing what's proper. It's like, sit the hell down. This is an organized event that you're not part of, because as soon as you say something like that, you're hateful.
Oh, no, you're transphobic. So did everybody notice today is National Pronoun Day?
Yeah, I noticed.
I actually missed that.
I noticed because Rick said he was done with it.
All of the Democratic presidential nominees are tweeting out their pronouns, and you know what? I'm not surprised by a single one of them. They all make sense in the English language and match their biological sex. So I decided I should probably tweet out my pronouns, but they're a little bit different.
What are your pronouns?
Duchess, Queen, and Princess.
Wow, and we're supposed to have 3.
Yeah, you gotta have 3.
Huh.
Huh.
I would, probably go with, I don't know, Kaiser, ass, and fill in the blank. Because somebody's going to tell me what I am, regardless of what I think anyway, and don't really care what they fill the blank in with. So
right, exactly. So you might as well just like use some creative ones like that. Mine are babe of the month. It's my pronouns.
I've literally had these conversations where, from the and thank God they came up with the plus sign because it was getting alphabet soup, but the LGBTQ plus crowd, they were yelling at me about how it's improper for me to label people because I'm a cis-normative male.
Huh?
And I said, well, I have no idea what that even is. It's like, well, that's what you are. You're a cis-norm. I said, so you're going to label what I am. Well, that's what you are. Okay, but they're a woman, and you just yelled at me for saying they're a woman. But I'm the demon here because I dared use a female pronoun because you can't do that, and that's not how they self-identify. It's like, well, I don't self-identify as cis-norm, whatever that means. Well, that's what you are. So you're
a dude like girls.
And they could not even grasp the contradiction in what they were yelling at it.
That's so funny, Brad. That's
wrong for saying woman, but they can call me cis-norm, and that has to stand.
That is exactly what I did on Twitter the first time anyone ever called me that, or the first time I saw it. I don't even know it was directed at me. But I said the exact same thing. You don't get to pick what I am. You don't get to pick what you call me. As I can't pick what I call you. Well, I mean, I can, and it will probably, Brad's probably said most of them. But I'm not... That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So
I usually end the conversation because I tell them I self-identify as sober, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Right, exactly. There you go. What, Stacey?
That's the best answer to give when you're pulled over.
Right, exactly. I self-identify as sober, and
I self-identify as a sober transgender, and then they can't arrest you.
Perfect.
Police brutality.
You were going to give a shout out or something.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out on this particular topic because I had the great fortune to order Douglas Murray's The Madness of Crowd. He puts all of this stuff into such amazing context about how they're trying to change the language and how the gay community and the transgender community are actually not the same thing, and they actually have goals and aims that are at odds with one another. And one of the funniest things that I heard him say when he was being interviewed is there was some singer that put out there that I am non-binary, my pronouns are they and them or whatever. And he said, I'm not playing that game. That they is more than one person, always has been, still will be. And the person who was interviewing him said, but you're not using his preferred pronouns. He goes, wait, you just didn't either.
Right, exactly. That's a good one.
Oh my God, you don't even know.
Well, that's where it gets so ridiculous, where this segment of their crowd is getting angry at the Spanish language.
Oh, because there's feminine and masculine
everything. Well, so in French,
if you think
and
about
Greek,
it,
and
gender was always about language. It was never about your sex.
But what was really amazing, I wrote about this when it came out a couple of years ago. Remember the movie Sausage Party, that animated film?
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I got to find the link. It was a hyper feminist website that had a freelance writer did a film review and gave it a positive review because they had gay and transgender food items in this movie.
Right.
And it was representative of their culture, and they thought this was very, or at least this writer thought it was very positive that this happened, and gave it a positive review. And then a lot of writers turned around and said, well, no, because the taco in the movie had a Spanish accent because it was done by Salma Hayek, and she was very sexually aggressive and very just harassing other food items, and it's not emblematic of us. Plus, they called her a woman, and this is when they were saying that they got mad because the reviewer called it a Latina taco, and it should have been Latinx. And these people
hate that. Stop putting X's at the end of words.
But
that's not okay.
This is where it got so great that the other editors all had to do a follow-up piece. They took down the review. The review was like 400 words or something. They ended up doing 2,000 words of a bandying back and forth between them about all of the problematics involved and how they didn't use Latinx, and yet the editors themselves kept saying Latina or Latino, and they couldn't even follow their own rules while they were yelling about their rules in their 2,000-word rebuttal to a 400-word movie review about an animated taco who was a lesbian.
Holy cow.
I was in tears for days over this. It was amazing to behold.
That is probably the best example of the outrage culture I have ever heard. Like, you have to work. Like, I kind of got when Dave Chappelle's recent one came out that, a certain set of the critics were going to have to be very critical to spare themselves from the mob, right? But all normies thought it was great. It got like 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Normies.
Anybody who could think, listen to Dave Chappelle and go, he's mocking all this because it deserves to be mocked, right? But, that doesn't even hold a candle. Like, some of the ridiculous things I saw people write about that doesn't even hold a candle to getting upset about an animated taco that was a lesbian.
This piece was brilliant. I mean, I couldn't. You couldn't do parody at this level. I mean, they were apologizing to their readers, the people who were mortified about this movie review about an animated lesbian taco. And we have to really look into our vetting process of our freelancers from now on. And we have to pass these things through an editorial process to be sure nobody gets offended by these items. I mean, the meltdown they had over this movie was hilarious.
Most of their meltdowns are.
I think we should sit them all in front of a few episodes of All in the Family.
Y'all want to hear something really funny? So I said a few, not really even nice, but neutral things about Tulsi today. I said that she wasn't, and truthful, that she wasn't a Russian agent, right? Like, I'll concede she's probably, from my perspective, at least a socialist.
Right.
Maybe even worse than that. But at least she understands foreign policy, and she's definitely not a Russian agent. That's a pretty ridiculous thing to say, and oh, by the way, familiar. I lost 6 followers on Twitter for saying that. 6.
And she also said we shouldn't be killing babies up till the day they're born, which...
That's why they hate her. Okay.
I know.
There you go. There's one reason. She also said that the impeachment was kind of nuts. I mean, she's been critical of that.
And critical of impeachment, and she actually believes in freedom of speech.
Right? And then when they asked her about Walmart and guns, oh my God, she committed the sin of saying it's up to Walmart. What the? Yeah.
This is why she's already been deemed.
Other than her foreign policy, I would legit consider her the least dangerous Dem.
I legit agree with some of her foreign policy. Some of it.
But I'm just saying, least dangerous Dem in terms of preserving essential rights.
Yeah, she, basically understands aspects of the Constitution. I mean, did you see the economic policies?
She does. She does, doesn't she? That is the most friggin' amazing part of all of it.
But they were forwarding all of these social programs and how they're going to fund it. Well, of course, the ultra rich, the corporations, these are all people they're going to soak for money. They even said that they want to tax people that are rich for being rich. If you're sitting on billions of dollars, they're just going to tax you with no activity attached to it. No commerce, you didn't buy anything. It's just, you've got $5 billion in the bank. You're getting a new tax for having something.
Yeah.
This is their plan.
Which is also a violation of the taking clause, but we won't tell
that. I think there's a certain aspect of private property involved here that the government's just going to confiscate because they want it. The funniest of all, though, they were talking about job loss due to automation and things of these. These are the causes of job loss in this country because, again, they can't go out and demonize the economy that's humming and 70% of the people favor. So they have to go with class warfare. So they're talking about automation and how corporations are so crude to get rid of workers and go into robots and such. Cory Booker then comes right back and says, I'm going to strengthen unions and I'm going to broaden union exposure all the way down to fast food. Hello, kiosks.
Right, exactly.
But I do think we got to get up on out of here so that R and W, and I know R is Rick, and W is Dan, they're coming up next, and we're actually cutting into their time.
Yeah, we are cutting into their time. I know, it's the boss, and so he'll forgive me because I got a little bit carried away. I promised Brad I would talk about Tulsi, so I don't know. Let's just say goodnight and get out of here.
She's very pretty.
Yeah, she is pretty. So let's just say goodnight and get out of here. Scott's Fire,
SCOTSFYRE. You can find my writing at The Resurgent and on NOQ Report.
Yeah, and I'm Cyber War Podcast, and Brad, you are
much easier to find. I'm at Martini Shark. You can find me at Red State, sometimes at The Federalist. I also got a podcast of my own coming on tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. Disasters in the Making, where we talk about the bad stuff in Hollywood.
Yep, and we're going to get out of here real quick because obviously I can't, produce without Stacy keeping me on track. We'll see you guys next week right here on The Red Wine.
Chateau